With how much focus the Ars Goetia family has been receiving in more recent Hell of a Boss episodes, I wanted to take this video to rank the main ones we know by name, from most good to most evil. At times, the concepts of good and evil can be a bit hard to quantify, but in the case of these characters, and a lot of Hell of a Boss characters in general, their goals are relatively straightforward to where ranking these guys was not that difficult for me. They're cartoon characters at the end of the day, so we're just going to be going over what they did just because. The tiers will be broken up into the pure of heart tier, the pretty good tier, and the degenerate scum tier. Starting off with the most innocent of the family, Octavia. Octavia is not only one of the least problematic characters from the Ars Goetia, at least so far, but arguably the least problematic character in all of Hell of a Boss. The only conflict she really caused was sending IMP and Stolas on a bit of a wild goose chase in the real world, but the only reason she even went to such drastic measures to steal her dad's grimoire from Blitz was because Stolas unknowingly broke the promise he kept to her about watching the stars together. Her only goals, if we want to call them that, is for Stolas to just give her the time of day and her parents to not be so overly hateful towards one another. Stolas does clearly love Octavia, believing she's the only net positive to come out of his loveless and abusive marriage to Stella, and when Octavia was super young, the wedge between her parents hadn't become too much of an issue yet, which allowed Stolas to still spend a good amount of quality time with her. During those early periods of her life, at least, Octavia seemed relatively happy. The reveal of Stolas having an affair with Blitz the Imp is when everything went to shit. Stella's hatred towards Stolas amplified tenfold, resulting in the two of them constantly fighting. Octavia obviously couldn't stand hearing her parents act this way, so a lot of the time she'd do her best to mentally check out of these situations by listening to music and interacting with her parents as little as possible. In more present events, Stolas would do his best to level with Octavia about the messy situation with he and Stella, which did seem to improve things for her a little bit. They had their sweet moment at the end of Lululand and in Seeing Stars. However, now that Stolas has been stripped of everything related to his Goetia Prince status, Octavia is now staying with Stella and Uncle Andrealphus. As of writing this video, Sinsmas is not out yet, but based on the line of dialogue we hear from Octavia in the Season 2 trailer, as well as some of the other unseen footage, there's a chance Stolas will be painted in a worse light towards his daughter by Stella, in turn leaving Octavia and Stolas on bad and maybe questionable terms by the end of that episode. It's kind of impossible for me to give any flack towards this character. I know a lot of people like to give Hell of a Boss and even has been some shit because of how many characters' issues are rooted in the daddy issues trope, but in my opinion, Octavia is one of the better characters involved in said trope. The roots of the conflict are pretty realistic, and her being at teenage age adds more fuel to that. With all that laid out on the table, Octavia's going in the pure of heart tier. The second most goodest, I don't fucking know, Stolas. While there's no denying Stolas is a victim of many unfortunate circumstances in the show, it does feel like gets a bit over-victimized at times. That being said, Stolas, down to his core, has always had good intentions. He grew up as a prince of the Ars Goetia with his entire life laid out before him by his father, not only when it came to his hellish duties as a prince of hell, but the family he needed to marry into later in his life, even if Stolas didn't genuinely love this partner back. While he was a prince of the Ars Goetia, a status that's respected by many others in hell, Stolas wasn't someone who seemed to care that much about this lifestyle. He did care to a degree, don't get me wrong, but didn't care on the same level as characters like Paimon, Stella, and Andrealphus. What he really wanted was genuine love, to experience life with a person he cares about in the freest way possible. The issue was that person was Blitz, and getting himself involved with a lower class demon was extremely frowned upon by other Ars Goetia and even high-ranked demons like some of the 7 deadly sins. Plus, the involvement with this situationship made his daughter's life worse by extension. Of course, the chance to have his one true desire finally met is, great and all, but when you have a kid, it's a whole different story. On top of the situation with Blitz actually starting off as a purely transactional thing that developed into something more, so while Stolas and Blitz were both getting what they seemingly wanted at the time, Blitz was being taken advantage of by a higher class demon at one point. It wasn't really until around Truth Seekers or Ozzy's where Stolas' romantic feelings towards Blitz become more apparent to us viewers. Even then, the way Stolas handled the conversation with Blitz in the Full Moon episode still wasn't my favorite moment in the world, and Stolas needed to be more open to communication in that moment, instead of just fleeing the scene after Blitz lashed out. So while Stolas has been through a lot of hardships himself, where some were basically against his will, his actions to escape his unhappy lifestyle resulted in the lives of other people he cares about getting messed up in certain areas too. But he's still a pretty nice guy. Besides the previously mentioned issues, the only other bad things he's really done is treat butlers like playthings. I think putting Stolas at the top of the pretty good tier seems fair. That brother's got too much baggage to be in pure heart. Third place goes to Vassago. Not gonna lie, when this character was properly introduced in Master mastermind, it might have been the fastest I've seen people simp for a new Hell of a Boss character. Maybe I'm just seeing a very vocal minority or something, because I didn't really become super invested into the show until right after season 1 ended, so maybe the hype for characters like Fizz and Ozzy were greater at the time. Let me read some of the comments I got on my most recent YouTube short about Vassago. I love Vassago. I like his design and accent. He's a good boy, that's why. This man is my new favorite character. Not gonna lie, Vassago looks like a nice guy to hang out with. I love the Spanish bird, enough said.
Smash.
I mean, I like him too, but damn. It feels fair for me to put Vassago right at the middle ground here because, let's be real, we simply don't have enough concrete screen time for this character to automatically give him a pure of heart rating like Octavia. We know from the episode itself he's not very friendly with Andrealphus, wants to see true justice being served, and loves to hear people sing.
Yes! Yes! Cántalo, baby!
As for more behind-the-scenes stuff, Vassago, like many of the other Ars Goetia, is named after one of the demons from the Lesser Key of Solomon, being described there as a prince of good nature. Plus, Viv herself tweeted a while back saying, "He's a very good boy, we promise," replying to another user tweeting about Vassago. Oh, that was tweeted on my actual birthday, that's pretty funny. So it's safe to assume this character is going to fill more of an ally role towards Stolas and the rest of the IMP crew in Season 3. A lot of people theorizing he and Stolas could be brothers or half-brothers too. And with that being said, Vassago's also going into the pretty good tier. It's very possible this guy could be bumped up to pure of heart levels once Season 3 drops, but that's not going to be for a good amount of time, I imagine. Paimon is the first Ars Goetia going into the evil degenerate tier. Like Vassago, this guy hasn't really had a whole lot of screen time either, but even still, the one episode we saw him in did a pretty good job at painting the picture of what kind of person he is. Paimon almost feels like a diet Andrealphus. We know he's a stuck-up royal figure with little to no regard for other demons in lower classes than him. Paimon's head is so far up his own ass, he wasn't even able to remember Stolas' name until his imp butler reminded him. Stolas having a lot of siblings isn't a valid excuse, buddy. It almost feels like he actually takes pride in being a bad dad, because when he brought Stolas to Lululand, and I use the word brought loosely because it was an imp servant physically there with Stolas while Paimon stayed home watching the show through a portable mirror, his unshakable stubbornness to spend time with his own son on his birthday went so far that he would have rather purchased Blitz as a playmate for Stolas than dealing with Stolas' sadness himself.
I'm so good at daddying.
You're not!
Into degen scum you go. Quick mention to these two bird creatures who are friends with Stella. They don't have any names, but if they're friends with her, they gotta be at least a bit evil, no? The silver medal of evil goes to the ice peacock Andrealphus. Him being a freaky siscon should be all I need to say to have him at this spot, but I'll talk about more than that.
You are so lucky you are hot, Stella.
From Western Energy onward, Andrealphus became integral to Stella's plan of taking everything away from Stolas. He's a very cunning and calculated individual who likes to play the long game to get what he wants. A case in point, the trial centered around Mastermind's events. Andrealphus pretty much acted as the plaintiff in this case, making Blitzo the scapegoat to take the fall for everything that's went down between he and Stolas. From the grimoire usage, which, yeah, he did do, and the assassination attempt. Even though Stella and Andrealphus were behind that, Stryker lied on the stand to make Blitz look worse. Stryker is still such a bum for that, by the way. Keep looking the boots of the rich you supposedly hate, buddy. Then by the time the trial was over, Andrealphus was given control of Stolas' legions after Stolas was stripped of everything. So if that guy wasn't a prince of the Ars Goetia before, he is now, rubbing it into Stolas' face at that. He and Stella have felt like, you know, the big bads this season, but I'm hoping Andrealphus isn't completely gone at the end of Sinsmas. Maybe he can team up with the Dorks guys and Cherubs or something? I don't know. Easy degen scum for Andre here. Stella easily gets the gold medal for most evil Ars Goetia until further notice. Ever since the circus episode, this character went up tenfold for a lot of people when it came to evilness, as the episode seemed to be making it pretty apparent that Stella has been a violent psycho since her childhood. What justification is there for choking out these poor puppies, dude? Then even before Stolas cheated on her, she never treated him with respect, constantly bad-mouthing him to other Goetia members and throwing parties just to celebrate them not getting divorced yet. She never actually liked him from the get-go, despite Stolas trying to make things work over the years. Sure, it's fair to say she was in the right to be angry that Stolas cheated, but it was anger rooted from the damage her social status would take, not the anger of being betrayed by a true loved one. On top of her thirst for revenge being so intense, she went through the trouble of hiring Stryker more than once to kill Stolas. He's failed both times so far, but she still clearly wants him dead. I don't even think Stolas wants that for her, despite hating her a lot. Even though Stella wasn't directly present at the trial, she played a big part in that whole plot, preventing Octavia from going to see him, smiling all evilly after hugging her. I still don't know and can't really tell if Stella actually loves her daughter or not. Their interactions have been borderline non-existent until recently. Plus, Octavia being kept in the dark is kind of important to she and Andrealphus' plan, because if she gets too wise lies about the whole scope of everything, Stella and Andrealphus would lose their rights to all of Stolas' shit. I really love the idea of Stella's needing Andrealphus' help in a lot of these recent scenarios too, because she's too stupid to do anything on her own. It's pretty funny. Even though Stella's terrible, she's one of those characters you love to hate, and that's an archetype I vibe with if done well. So this is my lineup here. Octavia placed as the most good and Stella at the most evil. Let me know in the comments if you have a different ordering for a list like this. I'd be very curious to hear your reasons if so. Huge thanks to my gold tier patrons, BFP4, Izzytorium, Draconis, and London Morse. You guys' support really means the world. Be sure to leave a like down below if you enjoyed the video and subscribe for more content like this in the future. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye-bye.